Imagine if you were playing a game of cards, whether it be poker, blackjack, or any other game. Now what if I told you the house would always win? Would you still play? The house was one of the most iconic weapons in the Division's history. No, not that house. There we go. We are going to go back and take a look at one of the defining eras of the Division franchise, and the house is the weapon that defined that era. Some of the footage and statements found in this video are from players from around the community. I will tag them on screen and you can find their links in the description below. Thank you! The house was included in the free update 1.8 that came to the Division on December 5th, 2017. Oh god, I feel old saying that. This update came with a huge map expansion into the west side piers with a few new game modes such as Resistance, a PvE mode where you and your team fight increasingly difficult waves of enemies, and Skirmish, a 4v4 PvP team deathmatch mode. So what makes the house so special? Well, when the update first released, the community was very excited to get their hands on the new content. The house instantly became one of the most sought after weapons in the game for a few reasons. The house was special because of its unique talent, the card counter. Card counter reads, one half of the magazine does 20% increased damage. The half that deals increased damage flips after 10 seconds or when the magazine is empty. The house also had a very high base damage for being in the MP5 archetype of SMGs. It also has a huge amount of critical hit chance and can output some of the highest DPS out of any weapon in the game. So as you can see, when this gun came out, it became best in class instantly, to the point where I'll let this clip of MARCOSTYLE explain it for you.
Saying that the house is in fact not a bad weapon at all. It is definitely one of the highest DPS weapons in the game. It's one of the best weapons in the game, so if you're using the house right now, you're not doing it wrong. Definitely not.
As you can see, the house became a staple of the meta and glued to almost everyone's loadouts. So yeah, the house was, how do I put this? Oh yeah, phenomenal. That much is clear. Now, how do you get it? The house was very rare to certain people. To others, they got 3 in a play session where they weren't even trying to get it. If you could tell, I'm a little salty. It's because I am. Some wounds never heal. Anyways, other people like me farmed for this weapon for weeks, and weeks turned to months. This sparked a debate about where the best place to farm for this weapon was. Some people said it was the underground, some people said it was bounties, some said it was best to farm the dark zone. In truth, we really don't know where the best place to farm this weapon is. To this point, I just want to say how happy I am that we have targeted loot in the Division 2. Tremendous quality of life change in my opinion. Anyways, the house was an RNG drop just like pretty much every other piece of loot in the game. Some people got a bunch, some got nothing, like me, even remotely good, which could be incredibly frustrating. But when you finally did get it, you got one of the best weapons in the game. To people who didn't have it, and if you wanted to PvP, you were almost at a disadvantage to people who did have it. More on that later. There is another issue regarding the method of requiring the house. That being, everyone is aware that the Dark Zone is one of the most lucrative ways to get the house, or any exotic for that matter. Many people, however, dislike the Dark Zone, and for good reason, especially if you're a PvE player. The Dark Zone carries inherent risk, and of course it still does. You could be farming solo and not see another person, but when you go to extract after you finally get your house after the 30th, 40th, 50th landmark you do, you could just be ganked at your extraction. To some people, that risk was not worth the potential reward. And if you decided to farm that way, you could potentially get the house much faster than if you farmed outside of the Dark Zone. While this is a potential problem, this was true for the entirety of the Division 1, no matter what piece of loot you were going for. So now I would say it's pretty well established that the house was a fantastic weapon. But to the point of just how good? Well, I'll just say this. To quote Roguegold on Twitter, which by the way, if you don't already follow my Twitter, and Roguegold's Twitter by the way, the link will be in the description below. It was a great gun and handled wonderfully, but similarly to Classifieds, I had a hidden hatred towards it because of how it invalidated almost any other SMG or assault rifle. Roguegold brings up a fantastic point here. Since the house was so good, if you weren't running it, you were at a disadvantage to other players who were running it. Not only that, but any other god roll weapons that you had were basically out the window because they just wouldn't be as good as the house. Another tweet, this time by @LiamCarter1991 states, I used it but not because it was my favorite, but because it was so overpowered. To compete, you pretty much had to use it. My favorite SMG was the AUG though. So Liam brings up a great point here. You might not even like the house, but you basically had to use it because of how, number one, meta defining it was. Number two, just because every other gun would not be as good, unfortunately. So this gun created a paradox, and in this paradox, the dealer always wins. Get it? The house is the dealer always wins. Never mind, it's not funny anymore. Moving on, the point being was the house created a power imbalance within the game. Echoing the point made earlier about the no house, bad build sentiment.
Some of the comments that I see pop up a lot on my most recent build videos, for example on the Nomad video and on the Striker video that I just released a couple days ago, are people asking me why I'm not using the house, the new exotic weapon, instead of my lightweight enforced. That, or I'm getting the typical no house, bad build comments. Yeah, we also have a few of those.
The gun made almost any other guns irrelevant, in particular the SMG class. It funneled weapon diversity into one distinct weapon, the house. Let me illustrate this point for you. The house was so good for building on multiple levels. It made it so if you got the house, you would only have to get 2 more good talents on the weapon because the house came with an intrinsic talent, the card counter. That meant that every other weapon you wanted to use had to have 3 god roll talents instead of just 2, and the chances of getting 3 god rolled talents as well as, on your perfect weapon was very, very, very slim. So this made going for the house the clear choice within the minds of players who were looking to create that perfect PvP build, and PvE too. And as we have seen thus far, the house is the clear choice for DPS, weapon damage, and now ease of build creation. So what does this mean for the game? Well, to be honest, the house came out in patch 1.8. The Division 2 came out in March of 2019, meaning the house ran the meta in the Division 1 for over a year and a half. And the only thing that changed that was the release of the new Division game. If you go back to the Division 1, most players you meet will still be using the house in the Dark Zone, Last Stand, or even in missions. Whether or not you look at this fact as a good thing or a bad thing, you cannot deny that this weapon defined the last year of the Division 1. It also served as a huge motivating factor to go interact with PvE activities and to farm for more gear. Basically, it made the people with the perfect gear and builds have to go farm again because it essentially invalidated the current god rolls and perfect builds that they already had. So guys, this concludes my thoughts on the house. Thank you all for watching. This video was a pleasure to make, and I hope you all enjoyed it in some capacity. Thank you to everyone who contributed to this video and helped make it what it is. You guys know who you are. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. I definitely think this is the direction that my content will be going, discussing significant community events and issues within the division. Additionally, I'm planning to start live streaming occasionally, so if you'd like to see that, please let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Deltah out. Peace.